you see the competitors for round 11 of the Marlborough Formula 3 British Championship here at Brands Hatch, where the weather continues to be absolutely superb, where the crowd continues to be absolutely massive, making their way round the warm-up lap, getting ready for the 20-lap, 52-mile race. And as you see, the man of the series so far, very much so, is Irishman Tommy Byrne, who drives a Ralt Toyota car. In fact, virtually everybody in this race is in a Ralt, followed by Kiki Mansilla in another Ralt. But Byrne, with 5 victories behind him, has not been going very well in the series recently, until yesterday in practice, when he put up an absolutely scorching fastest lap to put him on pole position at a time of 1 minute 24.4 seconds, 111.5 miles an hour, considerably faster than Chico Serra, the Brazilian driver who has driven in the British Grand Prix earlier today, put up in 1978, would you believe? It must be one of the oldest lap records in Britain. So Byrne is in pole position, then Martin Brundle in the Ralt with a VW engine, then Kiki Mansilla, followed by James Weaver, who is driving yet another Ralt Toyota, then Dave Scott in a Ralt VW, followed by Mike O'Brien, much higher up than he usually is, in an Anson with a Toyota engine, then Roberto Moreno, the man who tried to qualify for the Dutch Grand Prix last year. So, 20 laps, it's all going to be action, of that you can be sure, and they get away, and it's Byrne leading, Kiki Mansilla right behind him, James Weaver coming up on the outside of Paddock Bend, and thank heavens it looks like a clean start. And this race is absolutely critical for Tommy Byrne, appropriately number 1, who is in the lead, and I would imagine is likely to stay there. He's driving his Murray Taylor team car. Murray Taylor, who has brought on so many good drivers, including Raoul Boesel last year. And so now, in second position, it's James Weaver. There is Mike O'Brien, well up. And all these cars have got virtually identical 2-litre engines with restricted breathing, and they are all on the same make of tyre and the same type of tyre. Mansilla is in third position. So it's Byrne showing his form. And with me in the box here is ex-Formula 3, ex-Formula 2, ex-Formula 1 driver, one of the very few people who's crashed at over 200 miles an hour and got away with it, Tiffany Dell. What do you think about Tommy Byrne's chances?
Well, Murray, he really needs a good race in this race. He's had a very slim patch, having won about the first 4 races on the trot, I think it was. And recently, Roberto Moreno has stolen the limelight, and now here we have him, Tommy Byrne, looking like he might be back to his winning form, and he's getting away from the pack, which is always important.
Yeah, and Byrne at the end of 1 lap leads Weaver by 1.5 seconds. And Tommy Byrne really is an incredible young man. I suspect we're going to be talking a great deal about him for the next few minutes. He comes from Black Rock. He's been driving for 5 years, and he's the 1981 Formula Ford 2000 BARC and European champion. A double Formula Ford champion. He won the Formula Ford Festival in 1981. And as I have said, he already has 5 victories behind him. And the story is likely to be the battle for second place, because here is Tommy Byrne going up Hawthorne Hill, into Hawthorne, and it's Weaver in second place. It is Kiki Mansilla in third position, and behind him, nearly off, and it's Martin Brundle who is in fourth position. So there is the battle for second position. There goes Weaver, Mansilla, Martin Brundle. So it's a Toyota engine Ralt leading. In second position, another Toyota engine Ralt, then another, and then Martin Brundle going very well in the VW powered car, and he's the second of the 2 cars you're looking at now. Kiki Mansilla, number 3 in the Dick Bennett's car, and Dave Price is the man, with Les Thacker of BP behind Martin Brundle, and Mike O'Brien is going well. Now, Tiff, Mike O'Brien, number 22, who is in 5th position, is in the Anson car. They seem to have got that all together recently.
Yes, certainly the Anson now is the only car that is really challenging the Ralt domination. They have a European Championship team which is getting 3rd and 4th places in Europe, and now really this is probably by far the best performance we've seen in England by an Anson.
And Roberto Moreno is moving up to take that position. Roberto Moreno moves up from 6th to 5th, past Mike O'Brien. There's the Brazilian, the man who drove for the John Player Special Lotus team in practice at the Dutch Grand Prix a couple of weeks ago, and he's now ahead of Mike O'Brien, and it could well be that if anybody is going to challenge Tommy Byrne, it's going to be Moreno, who is currently, as you see, in 5th position behind Martin Brundle, and there is Moreno, and he's closing up this diminutive Brazilian, 23 years old, ex-kart champion of Brazil, and not only a protege of world champion in Formula One, Nelson Piquet, but he actually uses Nelson Piquet's cast-off driving shoes to race in. And there's Moreno, out of clearways. Now, watch a master driver, because I do believe, Tiff, that the gap between Moreno and Martin Brundle, who's in 4th place, is closing up.
Yes, Moreno's really gobbled up this little 3-car group. We got Dicing for 2nd place. Tommy Byrne, really, it's going perfectly for him because James Weaver forced his way up to 2nd place. He's had a couple of wild moments, and really he's enabled Tommy Byrne to build up a lead.
We are on lap 4. Tommy Byrne leads in the Ralt Toyota, the man who is leading the championship. And this race is particularly important to Byrne because there are a lot of very important people. There's Weaver 2nd, Mansilla 3rd, Brundle 4th, and sure enough, Moreno is right with them, and Brundle, I see, has damaged the offside fin on the front of the car. What effect will that have, Tim?
Yes, I think with the Volkswagen engine that he was running, which is now becoming a big challenge to the Toyotas, it is difficult to get off the grid. And I saw Martin, unfortunately, didn't make that good a start, and I think someone coming through from the 2nd row chopped across the front of him and damaged that front wing, and it's going to slow him during the course of this race.
Yes, because Brands Hatch is a fast circuit. 111 miles an hour was Tommy Byrne's pole position time, and the lap record here of 108 must already have been smashed. I'll put a watch on the leader next time he goes past, and we'll see how Tommy Byrne is going in comparison with the lap record. And Byrne has now completed 5 laps in this 20-lap race, quarter distance completed. Look at the massive crowd that is still here to see this Formula 3 race. So Byrne leads, and there goes the 2nd place man through, number 2, appropriately enough, James Weaver. And Weaver is in 4th position in the championship. In 2nd place, by the way, behind Weaver is Enrique Mansilla in the championship I'm talking about now. And Kiki Mansilla is in 3rd place. There's Byrne through, 2nd place Weaver, 3rd is Mansilla, 4th is Brundle, and right up his exhaust pipe is Roberto Moreno. The Brazilian now is trying hard to take Martin Brundle, number 6, who comes from Kings Lynn. And you can see they are absolutely on the ragged edge, very narrow tyres. Tiff, you've driven Formula 1 with the big wide tyres as well as Formula 3 with the narrow ones. How much harder or easier are the F3 cars to handle?
Well, really, that you handle them in the same manner in a way. You've got to drive them very smoothly to get the best speed out of them. And they're nicer because they're lighter to handle, and you can slide them around quite a lot, which of course you can't do with a modern Grand Prix car, but they still have to be driven very precisely indeed to get the ultimate speed out of them.
Well, Tommy Byrne is certainly driving at lap record speed. I have just had him through in 1:25.3 unofficially on my watch, and that is a speed of 110 miles an hour compared with a lap record of 108. So Byrne has only to keep going to ensure victory. He is on his 6th lap out of 20. Tommy Byrne leads, but what a battle behind him. James Weaver in 2nd place, Kiki Mansilla in 3rd. There is Byrne. Now, there's the gap between Byrne, the race leader, and Weaver 2nd, Mansilla 3rd, Brundle's 4th. Moreno seems to have dropped back a bit in 5th position, and in 6th place it is still Mike O'Brien in the Anson. Tiff, do you think Byrne, the race... There is O'Brien, the man about whom we have been talking so much, Mike O'Brien, from Luton, 6 years in racing. A man who's great at getting sponsorship is out of the race. And Tommy Byrne driving very smoothly, but nearly losing the end of it, with Murray Taylor racing on the back of the wing of his car. He's coming through to complete lap 6. There's the battle for second place behind him. Well, I was going to ask you to tell me about the Anson Tiff, but it's history now. So over the line goes Byrne. The gap between the race leader and the battle for second place, which you see there, is nearly getting on for 6 seconds. And James Weaver, the man from Harlow, son of a heart surgeon, the man who had a very bad crash in 1978 and has come back from it with 4 second places this year and 2 fastest laps, and who incidentally is sponsored by the Racing for Britain organisation, as is Dave Scott, of whom we have seen nothing in this race at all. In fact, Dave Scott is down in about 10th position. But Weaver, and there is Mansilla in 3rd position. Weaver racing for Britain with money that has been raised by enthusiasts all over the country to try and get British drivers for the 4, is certainly showing at the moment that they've spent their money wisely. And it would seem, Tiff, that Weaver has got the measure of Mansilla as well.
Well, yes, we're really seeing this race won on consistency. James Weaver has now calmed down after his early excursion, which we saw him putting a wheel on the dirt, as we just saw Mansilla do. Weaver's settled down. Maybe he will now stay the same distance behind Tommy Byrne, but I can't see him catching. Moreno also, maybe, he got a little bit wild. He caught up very, very quickly, had a couple of wild moments, and now he's really having to settle down to build up to overtaking Martin Brundle.
Yes, and ahead of those two now, some 7 seconds ahead of them, is Tommy Byrne. So here are Weaver and Mansilla, and Kiki Mansilla, who's just been back to South America to try and drum up more funds. It costs at least £100,000 to go racing in Formula 3 for a full season with the right equipment these days. And Mansilla has been back to his native country to try and drum up funds. He succeeded to get enough for at least 2 or 3 more races, and it's very, very important for him. Number 3, Kiki Mansilla, with the Dick Bennett's organisation, the man who won the 1979 Jim Russell Racing Drivers School World Scholarship, to do well now, because success generates funds, and that's what he needs. Mansilla third then, there he is. Behind him, Martin Brundle from Kings Lynn in the Ralt VW, who continues to stave off Roberto Moreno. But now, up into 3rd position comes Carlos Abella. Into 6th position, I'm sorry, Carlos Abella, the Spanish driver. There are Brundle and Moreno continuing their battle. Martin Brundle, and now Moreno looks as though he's going to try and take him, but Weaver and Mansilla continue their fight, and as they go into paddock, there are Moreno and Brundle, but the battle for second place continues as the battle for 4th comes up to Druids Hill Bend. Out of the picture, now there it is, and it's still Brundle, number 6 in 4th position, as we look at them going into Surtees, the left-hander. There's Martin, there's Weaver in 2nd place. Now, who is going to hold that 4th position? It's still Martin Brundle. Tiff, it would seem that that deranged nose fin on Martin Brundle's car is not, in fact, I speak too soon. Roberto Moreno, take us through that. Now, how do you do that, Tiff? Pull out of the slipstream.
Well, that really was a very brave manoeuvre to dive round the outside there. Martin Brundle defended the inside, the normal thing to do, and Roberto just took a big gulp and went round the outside, braked much later. Well, not that they really braked much. We see it again now. It could be that that nose fin is slowing the car in a straight line, but using the slipstream, Moreno slingshots down the outside and bravely chops across in front of Martin Brundle.
Well, Moreno up into 4th position. What is the gap between the 3rd place man and Roberto Moreno? In 3rd place, it is still Kiki Mansilla, and the gap between Moreno and Mansilla, there is Mansilla, is a mere 2.5 seconds. And now we could well be seeing the brilliance of this Brazilian, who has, in my opinion, unfairly been criticised for his failure to qualify in the Formula One John Player Special 91 for the Dutch Grand Prix. He was put into it never having driven the car until he got to Holland, and he is undoubtedly a superb driver, and I'm talking about that man in the yellow and blue car, number 4, Roberto Moreno, who has a Lotus test contract, who is backed and managed by Craig Pee-wee Siddle, who went into Formula 3 having been a Formula 4 champion in 1981, who immediately became the Formula Pacific champion, beating out there, incidentally, many people like Nelson Piquet, the reigning Formula 1 world champion. And I think his Formula 1 setback was only temporary, and that given more practice, he will be back there and probably winning in the future. Anyway, his problem at the present moment, he's in 4th position, is to close the gap between himself and Kiki Mansilla, who is 3rd, get up with James Weaver, who is 2nd, past him, and then set about the leader, Tommy Byrne. And he's going to have his time to cut out to do that, because we are on lap 11 out of 20. I think that was just a bit of paper on the circuit, but we'll soon see. Moreno, 4th position, looking down at Druids Hill Bend, and I see now, Tim, that Moreno is pulling away easily from Martin Brundle that we're looking at.
Yes, now he's passed. He isn't in the disturbed air, of course. Having followed Martin Brundle, it is always difficult to follow that closely because you do catch the disturbed air. He's now in clean air and driving very smoothly indeed. And I think he's going to get a lot closer to Quique Mansilla before the end of this race.
Well, I don't know what that debris on the circuit was. It might have been a bit of fiberglass, it might have been a bit of packing blown in from the crowd. It doesn't seem to be anything off Moreno's car or the ones in front of him, certainly not Moreno's car. And you're looking at Moreno now coming round Dingledell Corner on his way to Stirling's Bend, and there's the gap between the 3rd position man, Kiki Mansilla, the 4th position man, Roberto Moreno. They're now on their way to Clearways and Clark Curve on lap 11, completing it. And Tommy Byrne is driving serenely on. This man with James Weaver in 2nd place, Kiki Mansilla is 3rd. There is Byrne. I was going to say he is suffering from being so far ahead that we are concentrating on the battle for places behind him. But there he is, the man from Black Rock, 24 years old, double Formula 4 champion in 1980. In his first Formula 3 race at Thruxton last November, which he won as a result of, which he won his place in the car as a result of winning the Formula Ford Festival here at Brands Hatch. And he finished 2nd in his first Formula 3 race, a quite incredible achievement. So on lap 12, and he's now really going through the field. He's closing up on Martin Longmore, the Scottish driver from Dumfries, who has taken the place of Richard Trott in Trott's own car, which Longmore has hired. And it looks as though there are another 9 points for victory and another point for the fastest lap in the bag for Tommy Byrne if he just keeps going, in which case he will extend his championship lead in the Marlborough Formula 3 Championship. Tommy drove at Monaco. See, there he's past Longmore in the red car. And we look down from our 170-foot hoist position down on Graham Hill and Surtees Bend. Well, Tiff, can you see anybody challenging him? We're on lap 13, and there are therefore 7 to go, including the one we're on.
Well, no, I think bearing unforeseen troubles, Tommy Byrne's well on his way to victory, but certainly at the moment Weaver has his hands full of Mansilla. Mansilla is now right with his gearbox and making James Weaver have to defend his line, and I think these two dicing together is going to help Roberto Moreno to catch up with this dice for 2nd place. Poor Mr. Brundle is slowly dropping back now. His car must be handling diabolically, and I think he did very well to defend as long as he did, but I think he's going to be dropping away.
Well, Roberto Moreno, I think, is the man to watch, because, as you say, he's closing up. There's going to be a three-car battle, I think, for second place before we're very much older, between James Weaver, number 2, Kiki Mansilla, number 3, Roberto Moreno, number 4, and I see that Moreno is ahead of Brundle. We just saw Moreno going through there. Now, James Weaver is through. There is the second place man, and Moreno is third, ahead of Brundle. So where is Kiki Mansilla? Kiki Mansilla is missing. He's down to 5th position. He's obviously in trouble. Kiki Mansilla in the Ralt Toyota is in trouble, slipping down. There he is, just going into Graham Hill Bend, as Roberto Moreno goes on his way to Surtees. And so Moreno has got his way up through the field after a not particularly distinguished start. Behind him there, with the Brazilian Moreno in 3rd position, is Martin Brundle, valiantly holding on with that bent offside front fin in the Ralt VW engine, the John Judd tuned engine, which Dave Scott has got in his car. And Dave Scott has got up to 7th place, those of you who follow Formula 3 closely, and therefore is getting close to being in the points, but it really hasn't been a very good season for Scott, the man from Midhurst, who, like Moreno, also has a Lotus testing contract. Now, the gap between Byrne, who leads, and between the second place man, James Weaver, is 6.2 seconds. The gap between Weaver and Moreno is 4.19 seconds, and there is Mansilla following Martin Brundle. So on lap 15 in this 20-lap race, as we look at number 6 Brundle in 4th position, followed by number 3 Kiki Mansilla, who has slipped down to 5th and is trying to fight back, is in the lead Tommy Byrne. In 2nd place, James Weaver. Closing up on him, and there is Byrne, is Roberto Moreno. In 4th position, it's Martin Brundle. 5th is Kiki Mansilla. 6th is Carlos Abella. 7th is Dave Scott, and in 8th position is Tim Lee Davey.
Well, I think, as I was saying to you, Murray, that
that's Brian Dunning's march, and it looks as though whilst the car is bent, he went into the catch fencing, and hopefully Dunning's all right.
Yes, I think hopefully the driver all right. But I think, as I was saying there, Mansilla was giving pressure to Weaver just off camera for us. I think Mansilla might have had a very, very quick spin, because he's now driving like a tiger. He's right with Martin Brundle, and looking for a way past Brundle to get his places back.
We will see what happens. They are on lap 15. It's a 20-lap race. There is Mansilla. But there behind him is Brundle. That's Brundle. So it continues to be Tommy Byrne, James Weaver, Roberto Moreno, Kiki Mansilla up into 4th position ahead of Martin Brundle, and in 6th position Carlos Abella. And as Tiff rightly says, you can see now how Mansilla is pulling away from Brundle.
Yes, indeed. He got past him on that last lap, and I think he's now after his fellow South American Roberto Moreno. I think he likes to beat Moreno, and as much as Moreno's trying to catch Weaver, there we saw Mansilla sliding across the shot. Mansilla's really charging after Moreno after what must have, we presume, have been a mistake earlier in the race.
Only 3 seconds separate Moreno, who is 3rd, and Mansilla, that we're looking at, who is 4th place. And I think there is little doubt, Tiff, that Mansilla is the fastest man on the circuit now.
Yes, I think it looks like he's got his head down and really is chasing after. All of this, of course, helps Tommy Byrne, who's sailing away to a nice victory. There's poor old Martin Brundle, the wings all askew, and knowing how finely they adjust these cars to make them handle just right, it's amazing he's staying with these leaders with those nose wings.
Tommy Byrne lapping at over 110 miles an hour, well inside the previous lap record held by Chico Serra, is now well ahead. But meantime, Roberto Moreno, while we've been talking, is starting to close up on James Weaver, and the gap between Weaver and Moreno is now only just over 2 seconds. There is Moreno, and there ahead of him is James Weaver. So we have a battle for second position, and there is Mansilla, there is Brundle. Mansilla in 4th place, Brundle in 5th position, Carlos Abella is still 6th, and there is Weaver. Now, how far behind is Moreno? That's the answer. Lap 17, 3 to go at the end of this one. It's going to be a dramatic finish to this round 11 of the Marlborough Formula 3 British Championship round here at Brands Hatch, with all the important people of Formula 1 looking for talent for the future, watching this race. Third leads, Weaver second, Moreno third. In 4th position is Kiki Mansilla, and then behind him Martin Brundle and Carlos Abella. That's Weaver second, Moreno third, closing up all the time. There's the Englishman, 24 years old, ex-Grovewood award winner. The man who won the 1982 European Championship round at Donington this year, drives for Eddie Jordan, incidentally, the Irish team manager who has been so successful this year. 4 second places this year, but it looks, I think, as though it's not going to be 5 the way Moreno is catching it.
No, I think if there's going to be a place change at all in these last few laps, Murray, this is the one it's going to be. Moreno is all the time inching closer and closer to Weaver, and the place change we're going to get is a place change for second place if we have one at all.
Now, if you were James Weaver and if you saw Roberto Moreno in your mirrors as close as he is now, what would you be doing?
Well, the main thing here, Murray, is really for James not to look in his mirrors. When someone is catching you like this, even if it may be the car's slightly better set up or whatever, but as soon as James starts looking in his mirrors too much, he'll slow himself down. Really, until the car is right on your gearbox, it's a question of getting your head down, deliberately not looking in the mirrors, concentrating totally on your line to pull away. But I think James may be ogling his mirrors too much at the moment because Roberto's closing in.
The diminutive Roberto Moreno, who looks more like a schoolboy than a racing driver, out of the car and out of his helmet, has got his head down too. He's coming up shortly to complete lap 18 as Tommy Byrne goes across the line. The gap between Tommy Byrne, the race leader, and this stirring battle for second place is now 7 seconds. Well, Moreno may catch Weaver, but then he's got to get past him. But I don't think either of them have got a chance of catching Tommy Byrne. He's on lap 19 out of 20.
No, Murray, indeed Moreno there, we saw him make a mistake going through Clark Curve up towards the pits. You just saw the car wiggle in the camera shot, but that wiggle was enough to mean he had to back off. It meant he didn't come out of the corner as quick as James Weaver did, and in fact he's just given James a little bit of breathing space for these last 2 laps.
You've just seen Tommy Byrne go through. Here is number 2 in second position. Number 1 leads, number 2 second. But to spoil the order, number 4, Roberto Moreno, is in 3rd position. And number 3, Kiki Mansilla, is in 4th place. Martin Brundle is 5th. Carlos Abella is still 6th. In 7th place, and not challenging closely enough, is Dave Scott. In 8th position is Tim Davis, up from Formula 4 2000. And then behind him, in 9th position, is Tim Lee Davey. Here is the leader coming into clear to start his last lap, exiting Clearways, and into lap 20. Tommy Byrne across the line. He is into the last 2.6 miles, but James Weaver is still 6.5 seconds behind the Flying Irishman here, and Roberto Moreno is still half a second. There he is behind James Weaver as Byrne goes into Graham Hill Bend and on his way to Surtees. Watch for the next 2. It's the battle for second. Weaver in the white Rolt Toyota, and Roberto Moreno, who is in a Rolt car but with an Alfa Romeo engine in it. The European Formula 3 drivers tend to use Alfa Romeo engines, and very, very successfully. And Moreno knows that this is his last chance.
Yes, it could be coming down the straight here. He's got to get close. He's in the slipstream now. He's trying to do the same manoeuvre, but no, James Cumnor's over. He's got through there. Now there's only really one more corner he can do it at, which is the very tight left-hander Sterling's. He's got to go through these next two right-handers quick.
And we're coming up to Sterling's now. They're into Dingle Dell corner. Now they go into Sterling's, the left-hander, and Moreno's blown it. He's not going to get third position unless James Weaver is balked. But meantime, Tommy Byrne is almost home to take the checkered flag and win. The Irishman sees the checkered flag and wins this round and gets himself another 10 points, I would think, certainly 9. James Weaver finishes second, 5.4 seconds, with Roberto Moreno in third position, Kiki Mansilla in fourth place, Martin Brundle in fifth position, and in sixth position will be the Spaniard Carlos Abella.